Welcome to the visioning process and exercise of this recording. Now, exercise again is a great word because I see for you and hope for you that it's an exercise you come back to again and again. Something that we can practice on a regular basis because our visioning is really, you can think of like a muscle. And exercise, at first, again, it's uncomfortable. You may feel discomfort when you go through this. Just kind of notice and breathe and look forward to doing this again and again because it's something that does take practice and a wonderful skill. So let's get started and have your pen and paper off to the side. Clear everything off your lap and so we can be fully here, present right now. If you're driving, just be aware, of course, don't close your eyes if I offer to close your eyes. You can listen to this recording when you're doing things, just again and again to practice again your exercise of visioning. Now, sitting in a chair, in a comfortable chair, you want to sit upright. We don't want to be laying back, slouching. We don't want to be, we want to have our spine upright as if there's a thread running from our pelvis through our back, up through the top of our head, lifting us up as if we're held up, we're carried, or lifted up to heaven, if you will. Feel how that feels to be full in your body. And that opens up your chest more. You notice that when you're upright, your chest naturally opens up. As we want to soften the front of our body, we want to open up the front of our body because we want to be open to a wonderful vision. We want to be open to catching the wonderful visions that come up for us. So we notice as we go through life, we're often either closed or open. We can actually feel that in the body. When we're afraid or we're tense, literally the front of our body, our shoulders will curve forward, we'll curl over our belly, we'll tighten the front of our body with stress. And we can just simply open our chest, taking a deep breath into our belly, and soften the front of our body open, noticing we're safe. Notice we're safe right now. Notice that, honestly, really, you've always been safe. What's it feel like to do that, to notice that we're safe? And taking a deep breath into your belly and exhale. That's right. And notice what it feels like taking a deep breath and exhale and soften. What's it like to soften and open up the front of your body? We can be alert like a panther. We can be alert and soften in our body, ready for anything. And notice what it's like to open up the center of your chest, your heart space. That right in that center there, to take in a deep breath and open up your chest and open up your belly and exhale. And just notice your breath and notice being here right now. Let's get a sense of time and notice what right here, right now feels like. How you know when you're in the present, as all action has to happen in the present. We want to have a vision of the future that's compelling us forward while we're acting in the present, because opportunity can only be seen and acted upon in the present moment. So I think of visioning kind of like if we're on a boat. If you've ever been on a boat and you've heard about seasickness, a boat may be rocking as life may rock us, the waves and so forth. And what we do to calm the mind is we look at a point out on the horizon. We pick a stabilizing point, something to focus on. It could be land. It could be a cloud. Something for us to focus on. And this is what our vision becomes like. is that no matter what's happening in our life, that all mellows out and becomes stable when we have that beautiful vision that we're focusing on. Our mind just naturally figures things out. So we want to be in this space, so let's get in this state for visioning. So taking in a deep breath, filling and opening the front of my body, feeling grounded, feeling here right now, totally safe. That's right. Now let's get a sense of being loved, unconditionally loved. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why when we're children, we dream so much, is we really feel loved. No matter what our story is about our imperfect parents, children have these incredible expectations. We all have these incredible expectations of how people are supposed to be for us so that we can be happy. When we let those expectations go, we realize that we were really loved. We were cared for. That's why we're here now. There was that love. And let's get a sense in the present moment of what unconditional love feels like. Think of someone that you love totally, unconditionally. For some people, if they've had, let's say, a pet, that's an interesting example. I once had a cat and it had very sharp claws from being an outdoor cat, and he scratched me pretty good on occasion. But it never upset me because I knew that was his nature. I just had this unconditional love for that pet. And it seemed like he had that for me. But I made mistakes too. And he seemed to have that love. So maybe you've had a dog or a cat or a bird. That's often one example that we've had. Maybe also if you have children or a little brother or sister, when you remember when they're really little, we tend to be open. That front of our body, we're very open. We're not closed. And there's that sense of unconditional love. Maybe you have that, or you remember when you've had those times with your spouse where you love them totally unconditionally. And that's what it feels like to love unconditionally. Think of what unconditional love is like when you've felt that for someone else. See their face. Get a sense of their presence here with you. Notice what it feels to love unconditionally. And now imagine that you could float up and drop into that place of them and receive that unconditional love from yourself. You loving you unconditionally. We make mistakes, we have ups and downs. Life is full of decisions. And still have that sense of unconditional love for yourself. Notice what it's felt like to be loved unconditionally. Notice where you feel that in your body. Notice what you see, what you hear, how you feel. What you see is you might see life a little more brighter. Things might have a glow to them when you feel unconditionally loved. What do you hear? Maybe you hear, ah. Maybe you hear, I'm loved. Or maybe you hear nothing at all. Just space, stillness. And notice how that feels to be unconditionally loved, to love yourself unconditionally. And let's also get a sense for freedom. Love and freedom are important. So what does it feel like to be free? I once went skydiving. Wow. What's it feel like to break through the fear and, wow. Think of a time when you felt totally free. Maybe it was just remembering riding your bicycle. That last time you rode your bicycle. There's a sense of courage. Cour comes from heart in the French and Latin. There's a courage in freedom. So notice what it's like to feel freedom. You know you felt it sometime. Imagine that now. What does freedom feel like? There really aren't limits. When you don't have a sense of limits, you're free. Notice what love and freedom feels like right now. And get a sense for now. What year is it? Say that out loud. may seem silly, say it out loud so you're anchored right now. What's the year? What's the month? What day is it? Get a sense of where you are. Where is here? What city are you in? What country? What planet? Get a sense of your GPS. Where is here and now? As we want to live and act in the present moment, that's where all opportunities show up. We can only see opportunities when we're in the present moment. So let's get a sense of the present moment. And now also a sense of past and future. Our vision, of course, will be in our future. Let's take a look at our past and get a sense of, we're going to work on a 10-year vision now. Now notice in your body, just for a moment, when I just said 10 years, did you notice any tension? If you did, if your mind said something, oh my gosh, that's so far out. Just notice that we're just not used to it. We're just not used to this exercise. So just take a deep breath and breathe through that. And hopefully you're excited. 10 years. It's a long time. So let's get a sense, if we think of the year right now, and notice where your past is. There's a sense of past, present, and future. Often for us Westerners, we think of time as a line, kind of from left to right often. Past is in the left, present is here now, and future is often somewhere to the right. Just get a sense of where your past is. Some people, they say, well, that's behind me. So get a sense of a year ago. What year was it? Looking back from right now, what year was it a year ago? What were you doing? A little bit different. Let's think of 5 years ago. That's right, 5 years ago. That's a ways back. Maybe back, in my case, behind me. Maybe it's to your left and forward, or to your left. Notice where 5 years ago. What was the year? And now think 10 years ago, 10 years back. What year was it? Imagine if you looked at a calendar next to you. See yourself 10 years ago. How much have you changed? How much has changed? What was going on in the world? The world's changed. And just get a sense. We might have two senses now. There's a part of all of us that's never changing. From the time I was born until my last breath in my 80s, 90s, or 100, there's a part of me that's completely unchanging. And there's that aspect of existence. Then there's another aspect of existence that's only change. Let's get a sense of that part. There's us participating in all that change. Notice what's changed. Maybe again, 10 years ago, things didn't change the way I wanted them to. Maybe I'm noticing a little attachment to how things should have been. Let's get back in touch with just that change happens. And remembering that sometimes I have a change, sometimes I want something, and I miss the benefits. So notice the benefits that you got, all that you learned. Especially get a sense of 10 years ago, how has your mind changed? How much has your mind changed in 10 years? Maybe 10 years ago, we were quite young and we kind of had a sense, well, everything right now, I know what there is to know, because we have no idea what we don't know. So how much have you learned? Have you changed? There's ups and downs in life. The main takeaway is, did you have a vision 10 years ago? Did you have a vision? And did you hold that vision? That might be just the main difference, is we didn't really have a vision. We didn't know this exercise. Let go of that and just notice how powerful it can be when we have a vision, because 10 years is a long time. Anything can happen. 365 days times 10 years is 3,650 days have transpired since 10 years ago. So as we let go 10 years, just having a sense of the scale, and we look forward to the future, notice 10 years is a long time. Anything can happen. We don't know how many people we're going to meet. We don't know what we'll learn. So get a sense now of your future. Where's your future if you were to point to it? Yes, I know it's silly. Get a sense for something you do on a regular basis. Let's say brushing your teeth. That's something you know you've done every day. Maybe at least once a day, several times a day. Get a sense of this morning. You may have brushed your teeth. Get a sense of that. I brushed my teeth today. And then think about tomorrow. There's a way that we know the difference between yesterday, going to our favorite restaurant, let's say, or, oh, I remember, 2 years ago, that summer, I went to the restaurant. There's a way that we keep time coded. And now if I think about the future, think about tomorrow, I will brush my teeth. And then think of a week from now. If you were to point to that, I know it's silly, just imagine that you can tell. Where's a week from now? How about a month or a year? Maybe going out further. Well, a year from now, what year will it be? 365 days. Now get a sense of 5 years out. That may seem way out there. Just kind of point to it. Imagine you can see it. For many people, it's in front of them. Just notice where that is 5 years from now. What year is it? Imagine you could see a calendar out there. And 10 years from now, what year will it be? 10 years from now. Yes, it's a long time from now. So anything's possible, really. 10 years is a long time. We have a sense of that. So now, if you haven't already, you can allow your eyes to close. And again, take in a deep breath. That's right. Just relax into 10 years from now with a smile on your face and your heart wide open. What's 10 years like? 10 years from now. Just get a sense of how old will you be out there. See yourself in the future 10 years from now. What year will it be? See yourself. How old will you be? Get a sense of that number 10 years from now. What do you look like? What would you like to look like? What's your body? We have a framework that we can use here, and we'll use as we go forward. There's the private self, and we'll look at that first. We can think of the 4 quadrants of my physical self, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So looking ahead, let's get a sense of our physical self at that age. How do we look? How do we want to look in 10 years? Would we like to have more energy in our body? Are we keeping up with our children? Are we keeping up with our mate? Just a physical body. It's 10 years. What comes up for what would just be frickin' cool? What would be a fulfilling life? That's great questions for a vision. What comes up? So just get a sense of your physical body. How do you look? Maybe you look younger. And think of your mental self 10 years from now. How would you like that to be? 10 years from now. 10 years, what have you learned? Maybe you learned a language. Maybe you decided to go back to school. Some people do that. Maybe you had started a business and you learned marketing. You learned how to sell. What's your mental life like 10 years from now? How many books have you read? Or the mental state, how quiet is your mind? How would you like that to be? That's right, see that movie up there. How does that look? And then think of your emotional self. We often don't think of our emotions. How would I want my emotional self to be? How does it look? Many of us, we maybe have just a handful, maybe 2, 3, 4 different emotions we experience. We just think of happy, sad, mad, angry, excited. So there's more than that. Let's just get a sense of your emotional self 10 years from now. How are your emotions? There are ups and downs in life. How have we handled them? Maybe emotionally, we're emotionally resilient. things come and go, and we just have this sense of joy that we've been able to find there. Somehow, we don't know, it's 10 years. We let go of our mind, always wanting to know how are we going to do it, that we get taught when we're an adult, and we want to focus on what and why do we want it. The how will come to us. It's 10 years. So be with the emotional self. How's your emotional self? How could it be? And there's my spiritual self 10 years from now. Now that can be a loaded word for people. Think of spirit really is our animating principle, like the spirit of a horse. A spirited horse is joyous. It's in nature. It's natural. So your spirit is your animating principle. Also described as my sense of oneness, a sense that it's all good in life, a sense of being loved, a sense of magic in the world or mystery. What's your spiritual self like? For some people, maybe that's a faith. Some people maybe, 10 years over that time that maybe we learned meditation. Just notice what comes up in your personal self 10 years from now. And then we also have our public self, or our public victories. We have our private victories, our inner victories, and we also have our public victories. There are self in the world. So get a sense of that now, expanding your vision. What comes up? We can also think of these with the framework of have, do, and be. These are three areas that we exist in and we enjoy existing in. What do I have 10 years from now in my life? What am I doing? And who am I being? Really powerful questions. So we often start with have. So what do I have in my life? Now, we think often, again, the mind might go to money. Just notice, is that coming from my fear of not having enough? Or the vision 10 years ago, what I want to do with it? The why of money. There's also having friends. Think of our social self as well as the financial. What friends do I have in my life? What kind of family? How's my family? Do I have children? Are they grown up? How old are they? I also have my colleagues. What do I have for colleagues in my life? Who am I working with? Who could I be working with that would thrill me? What would be a fulfilling life in my relationships? Let's also think professionally. So often it seems the goal we've been conditioned to since the 1950s is the goal of life is to retire. The goal of life is to get to some finish line so that we never have to work and we can lay around or really somehow be safe. That was the goal of life originally. Our goal was to be active and do what we love our whole life. So let's think of that kind of life. How about professionally or in contribution? What do you really want to do in the world? What might you be doing 10 years from now? Let's think about doing. What would I do? Where'd you travel? Maybe you learned a martial art. What are you doing in your profession? Who are you interacting with? What have you done 10 years from now? That's right. Just take a deep breath and breathe in through your heart, opening up your body. 10 years. Wow. What have you done in your profession? Who have you met? Have you changed lives? Now think about your hobbies. What hobbies do you have? Is there something that you've always wanted to learn to do? Maybe it's cooking. Maybe it's painting. Something that you've just wanted to master. You've just wanted to get good at. I used to rebuild cars and engines as a hobby. What are hobbies that you've always wanted to do? How about play? What do you do for play? It's 10 years. Are you playing? What do you do for play? And think about be. Think about your being. Who are you being 10 years from now? Who do you want to be? Be is a very powerful level. When we think about be as like being as I am a great parent. I'm the best parent in the world to my children. Some people may, wow, 10 years from now, it's coming to me, I want to be an author. I want to be writing inspiring books. Maybe a person wants to be an actor. Maybe it's something as simple as I'm being a best friend to people. Or I'm being an example of possibility. I'm being an example of courage. I'm being an example to my children of how to have a happy life. Notice, who do you want to be? And again, this is something we can return back to, noticing my private victory, who I am privately in my inner world, physically, my body, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and my public victories in my profession, financially, in my environment. What do I have around me? In my relationships, my hobbies, play. Spiritually, what's my spiritual life like? Whatever that means to you. And you may have had many ideas come up, and from all that, let's consider now, what's the most important thing in 10 years? There may have been one thing you kept coming back to, or one thing that's coming up right now. What would really be a fulfilling life? Breathe into that. Just imagine seeing yourself 10 years from now. What would be a really fulfilling life? What have you done? Who are you being? What's that definite purpose? It may have been something that you've wanted to do your whole life.